Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy that you're here. I have a very exciting video for you guys today. One of my favorite things to do when I'm not reading a book is to watch a movie, and there were a ton of good ones that came out last year, and with the Oscars right around the corner, I kind of wanted to give you guys some book recommendations based off of the movies. So basically, if you liked this movie, you should read this. I have 5 different movies for you guys. A lot of them have been nominated for Best Picture. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. The first movie we're gonna dive into is The Substance. I really love this movie and everything it was about. It's a little bit like gruesome and borderline just gross. It reminded me a lot of Tusk, but in a little bit less of a terrible, awful, brain rotting way. I really liked a lot of the subjects it touched on. I think that the actresses were great, and so I have a few book recommendations for you guys for that movie. The first one is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. I've read this a couple of years ago, and it was one of the weirder books that I really enjoyed. For me, I feel like this kind of encapsulates The Substance because it's like feminine rage and just standards and stuff like that in society. In this book, we follow a girl who basically just wants to have a year where she just sleeps because she is done with it all. And so yeah, I feel like this is kind of on the same level of The Substance. It's a little bit weird. It talks about femininity and society and stuff like that. My next book is Tender is the Flesh. This book isn't really related to The Substance in any way. I picked this one because I feel like if you really liked the themes in The Substance, you would really like the themes in this one. It's a story that kind of is talking about the political atmosphere and stuff like that. And so it is a very gruesome read. Check trigger warnings before you read this. But it is really short, and I think if you kind of like that touching on deeper topics within art, I think you would really like this one. Honestly, I really like this one. I'm not a big fan of stomach turning things, but I really like this one. Next, I have Annie Bot, and this is for those people that watch The Substance and really loved the talk on women's bodies and how society plays a huge role in how women view themselves and those kind of topics that were touched in The Substance. Annie Bot is basically about this robot that is created to be the perfect girlfriend for this guy. And so as you can see, it's a little bit weird, which you get in The Substance when they're not respecting the balance. So I feel like a robot girlfriend is perfect. And then as you keep going on in this story, the more human Annie becomes, the more she realizes that her boyfriend Doug doesn't really love her for who she is. My next movie for you guys is going to be A Complete Unknown, and I have a lot of fun picks for this one. I feel like I really like the 70s and going back in time and reading about those kind of times, and so I have a lot of fun recommendations for you guys. My first one is obviously gonna be Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This definitely explores the same kind of things that they explore in A Complete Unknown. We're following a band and we're getting it in an interview style, which is really cool if you've never heard of it. Basically, we're following a band in the LA in the late 60s, and eventually they run into Daisy Jones, who is also a musician trying to make it in LA, and they form an even bigger band, and we're basically just seeing them balance friendships and romance and all that good stuff in the 60s. And so I feel like this is a perfect read if you need more after watching A Complete Unknown. My next recommendation is going to be Just Kids by Patti Smith. This book is obviously, you know what it is. It's a book written by Patti Smith. In this book, we're basically seeing Patti Smith's relationship with her photographer. Again, it's set in the late 60s. We're seeing friendships and romance in the late 60s and all that fun stuff. But yeah, if you don't know who Patti Smith is, she was a punk rock singer. She's still alive. I don't know why I said was, but she was a punk rock singer. And I feel like obviously we got Bob Dylan, we got Patti Smith. I feel like it'll be a great read if you're looking for more. My final book rec for A Complete Unknown is going to be Songs in Ursa Major by Emma Brody. This book is a lot like Daisy Jones and the Six in my opinion, and if you really love Daisy Jones and the Six, maybe you also want to pick up this one. Still following the same themes, kind of like in A Complete Unknown, we're following a singer. In this one we're following Jane, who is a very small town singer. and her band is asked to play for another band who the lead is Jesse, and that kind of launches them into stardom. Jesse couldn't play because he was in an accident. Jesse and Jane start to get to talking, and we're basically just navigating Jesse and Jane, their relationship, friendships, the band, the 60s, all that good stuff that you want to find in a book like A Complete Unknown. So those are all my books for A Complete Unknown. Obviously you could read the book that the movie is based off of if you really want to, but I felt like that was kind of a cheat putting that in here. But there is a book that the movie is adapted from, so if you are looking for something that is very much like it, then maybe you could read that one. The next movie I have for you guys is Challengers, and this was definitely my favorite movie of last year. Obviously Challengers wasn't nominated for anything, which is kind of sad, but I still have some book recs for you guys. Starting off with Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read this a couple of years ago. This book is about Carrie Soto, who is a very decorated tennis player. She's actually in retirement, and when she is at the Open, she sees someone beat her record, and she comes out of retirement in order to win her record back. So we're navigating her kind of like going back into a sport that she loves so much after so many years off. She's a lot older now. And all that stuff. We're navigating her relationships as well, her relationship with her father. So if you loved the tennis aspect of Challengers, obviously this is right up your alley. In my opinion, I feel like this book kind of would be like following Zendaya's character in Challengers if she ever was able to come back from her injury. I feel like if you kind of look at it in that light, it like has a little bit of a deeper layer to it, and that is why I recommend it if you loved Challengers. My next book rec for you guys is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I haven't read this book yet, but I feel like it is right up a Challengers fan's alley. The summary of this book is that two college students make this like really weird and unexpected relationship with this married couple. So you can see kind of where that connection comes in. Obviously, like I said, I haven't read it, so I'm not sure like what happens in it, and obviously I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But in my personal opinion, it's giving off the same vibes, especially between our two male main characters and Challengers. Also, if you liked like the college-y aspect of it, this one is definitely for you. Then my last book for Challengers is gonna be no other than Call Me By Your Name, which sounds really insane, but if you know, you know. Like I feel like I literally feel like I have no explanation for this besides like Call Me By Your Name. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you watch the movie, you know. If you didn't, you don't. Like, it's fine. So yeah, that is all I have for you guys for Challengers. The next movie for you guys is Anora. This was probably one of my other favorite movies of last year, and I'm so excited that it's getting all the hype that it deserves. I really, really loved it. The first book I have for you guys is going to be Softcore by Brittany Noel. If you really like the nightlife aspect of it, basically in this novel we are following a woman who is trying to find her lost ex-boyfriend and kind of ends up diving into like the sex worker world in order to find him. It's very sex worker positive, just like Anora, and it also kind of has that like suspense, like I don't know, like action that Anora has when Anora is trying to find her husband. So same vibes. Next recommendation is for those of y'all who watched Anora and really like the complicated relationship aspects of it. And the novel that I have for you guys is Luster by Raven Leilani. Basically in this we have a woman who is seeing a much older man, and she eventually gets entangled with his wife. So as you can see, it's very complicated, and just like in Anora, I feel like the vibes are kind of there. The final recommendation for you guys if you loved Anora is Nightcrawling by Layla Motley. This book follows a young girl and her brother who are struggling to pay rent in Oakland. She basically finds herself in a spiral of last resorts and ends up in the center of a sex trafficking ring. And that gets her in a lot of trouble, and we follow her through that. Has again that kind of like action suspense to it because in the book the girl gets in trouble. Yeah, I haven't read this book, so I feel like I don't have much to tell you guys besides that I recommend it for sure if you liked Nora after doing my research on it, but it's also definitely on my TBR now. My final movie for you guys that I have some recommendations for is Wicked. Obviously, this movie was huge last year. I really loved it. I've never been a like Wicked girly, but I definitely am now that I've seen it. I'm super excited for part 2. But I do have some book recommendations for you guys. And the first book is going to be The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings. Basically, this book is a very dystopian book about women who are under the age of 30 being closely monitored by the government in fear of them practicing witchcraft, especially if you're a Black queer woman. And this girl loses her mother, and throughout this book we're watching her try to fulfill her mother's last wish before she disappeared. This book has a lot of great themes that I feel like Wicked kind of touches on. Also, it just, you know, the witchy aspect of it all. Very dystopian. My next book rec for you guys is going to be Wretched by Emily McIntyre. If you've seen this series, you know that they're all very like spicy, romantic retellings of your favorite childhood stories. So this one is no different. It is a retelling of the story of Oz, but in a very much more romantic, spicy way. So maybe if that is what you're looking for, this is right up your alley. Obviously, if you love the whole Oz world and all that good stuff, this is definitely right up your alley. It is very Oz inspired, so you'll get a lot of that magic and all that good stuff. Obviously, if you don't like spicy books or romance books, this one is not for you. And then that leads me to my last recommendation for Wicked. This one was really hard to find books for. Obviously, if you want to read Wicked, just read Wicked. Check trigger warning before you read it though, because it is not like the musical. So, but if that is what you want, read Wicked. But my last book for you guys for Wicked is for those of you like me who really enjoyed the friendship aspect of it, and Elphaba and Glinda's like ride to friendship and stuff like that. So that book is going to be Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This is such a beautifully written book. It's like about your 20s and friendships, and how like female friendships are the most rewarding and beautiful relationships that you can have. So again, if you really liked Glinda's and Elphaba's friendship arc, then I definitely recommend this one. I feel like it is very poetic and beautiful, and just literally like love of friendship. Like that's what this book is. Alrighty guys, that is all the book recommendations I have for you guys today. Let me know down below if I missed any recommendations based off of your favorite movies from last year. Also, let me know who you're hoping will win at the Oscars in a couple of days. I'm very, very excited. Very sad that Challengers is not up there, but what can you do? I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you got some good recommendations based off of your favorite movies, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.